Leviticus chapter 15. All right. This is the law on the uncleanness of man and their issues. The uncleanness in carnal relations. Uncleanness of women and their issues. Offerings of women cleansed of issues. Chapter 15, verse 1. This is for the new brothers and sisters that we might have in the midst of us, so that they get an understanding of this law.
Right. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Jehovah spoke unto Moshe and to Aharon, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath an issue out of his flesh, his issue is unclean, and this shall be his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he that hath the issue lieth shall be unclean.
Right.
And everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the evening. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he that hath the issue sat shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. So
this issue that is speaking about, for the most part, is a man that has a venereal disease. Continuously has a flow of something coming out of his private member, and 9 times out of 10 that issue is pus.
Right.
You know, so it's saying that when a man is in this state, and man, you shouldn't be like that, because if you're in that state, that means you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. You know, but if it does so happen that this happens to you, that you're supposed to separate yourself from the holy things of the Most High God. That means you can't come in here. And also, and being in the midst of your brothers, you have to also separate yourself, because you could cause them to be unclean. You're sitting around every place, you're shaking their hands, you're hugging them, you're doing all this. You cause that uncleanness to pass on. You know? And 9 times out of 10, that's an embarrassing thing for a man. So he's not going to share that with you. He's not going to tell you, yeah, I got a VD and, you know, I can't shake your hand, or I can't do that. So separate yourself.
Right.
We'll understand. Say, look, I got to be separated right now, brothers. There's nothing with the place. There's nothing with that. I'll be back as soon as I'm well. And that's it. But you have to separate yourself, because uncleanliness is passed. And you can pass it from one person to another. Let's go. You contaminate. Let's go.
Verse 7. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the evening. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the evening.
So all these things, you got people that talk and spit. Yeah. You talking to the brother, he spit on you, you're unclean until the evening. You touch the brother with this VD, with this venereal, you made the brother unclean. You give him a call, you made him unclean. That's right. It's time for us to get understanding of the law and know that we do pass uncleanlinesses to each other.
Yeah, we did.
Let's go.
And what saddle soever he that hath the issue rideth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean unto the evening. And he that beareth those things shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the evening.
So this is even if the uncleanliness doesn't get on it, just sitting down on it makes it unclean. The chair that you sit on, you made it unclean. Someone goes behind you, touches that chair, they become unclean. You know? And that person that did that, now they have to go wash their flesh, wash their clothes, and be unclean until that evening. Right. So that's why we got to safeguard what we have here. And we have to safeguard what comes in and out of here. You know, when you bring new people along, you have to make sure, you got to tell them, are you unclean?
That's right. That's right.
Do you have any issues? Do you have anything? Because if you're unclean, you know, and if you come in here, yesterday he couldn't have been with his girlfriend last night. Because he come here, he's unclean. I mean, there's a certain dedication once you start talking to people that you got to have.
That's right.
You know, and you tell people, you say, you know, you prepare people before you bring them here. You just don't bring people here from just out the blue like that. You got to talk to them, and you got to tell them that there's certain things that you can't do. You know, just like you wouldn't bring someone here with a cross on. You tell them, look, if you got a cross, you can't bring it in. You got to prepare people before they enter in here, because because we uphold a certain law. And we have a certain way that we live. Let's go.
Verse 11.
Uh-huh.
And whomsoever he that hath the issue toucheth, without having rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
And be unclean until the evening. Go ahead.
And the earthen vessel which he had, speak up. And the earthen vessel which he that hath the issue toucheth shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water.
The earthen vessel, because it has pores and it breathes, shall be broken, and the wooden vessel shall be rinsed with water. Go ahead.
And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean.
So when you got this issue, when that issue stops, then you count yourself 7 days. After that issue is over, and then you wash yourself, you wash your clothes, and then you become clean at sundown. And then you could come back into the midst of your brethren, could come back into the midst of your sisters, and everything is well. Let's go.
14. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before Jehovah unto the door of the tent of meeting, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him before Jehovah for his issue.
So we don't have anywhere that we go to where we could present the turtle doves and or the 2 young pigeons. So today we just pray before the Most High and ask him that he forgive us for those things that we can't do today.
That's right.
Let's go.
Praise God.
And if the flow of sea go out from a man.
All right, this is one of the most important laws that we have, because this relates to us, and that something that we could see at all times, you know, and because we have children, we go to the blue room with our Nashim, so we have to be up to par with these laws, and we can't forget the ordinances of these laws. Let's go.
And if the flow of sea go out from a man, then he shall bathe all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the evening. And every garment and every skin whereon is the flow of sea shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening.
All right. And if the flow of sea go out from a man, then he shall bathe all his flesh in water. That means from head to toe. That means from head to toe. Your little pretty locks that you just twisted, you got to wash them. It says, he shall bathe all his flesh in water. All his flesh. That means if you just go like this, oh, I can't let my locks, my locks look nice today and nice, and my wife just greased them up yesterday. You can't do that. You got to go in there, wash everything. It says all your flesh. You got flesh on the top of your head, don't you? All your flesh.
Verse 17. I'm going to read from 17.
All right, 17. And every garment and every skin whereon is the flow of sea shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening. So anything that flow of sea falls on, you got up the sheets, on your garments, whatever it falls on, you have to take that before you go in the shower. You know, before you go in the shower, or before you do anything with it, you have to wash that. You have to rinse that. Get into that practice. Rinse that. Because guess what? When you go into the shower, let's say you take the clothes off or whatever, you go into the shower, you take the shower, you're waiting for the sun to go down, and you go pick up the same unclean clothes.
Gotta wash it.
That shower that you just took is now defaulted. You just defaulted the shower that you just took. So the sensible thing to do is you got to get back into hand washing things. You wash these things out, rinse them out, take that stuff off of it, and then you go and proceed and take your shower. Because, all right, let's say you put it in the hamper. You put it in the hamper with the stuff on it. You bathed it. You did that before you took the shower. You put it in the hamper, and then you come back 3 days later, you're going to wash clothes, right? And you go into the clothes bin, you take it out, and you put it in the washing machine. You're unclean. You have to take precaution so that we can present ourselves before God clean all the time. So that we won't be in default. You won't be in default. You got to separate that clothes because that clothes is going to contaminate every other clothes you put in there.
Teach the Lord.
You're going to dig your hand right in there. You're going to have that stuff right in your hand. And you're going to be unclean again.
Teach the Lord.
Then it says, the woman also with whom a man shall lie carnally, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening. And that means her hair also. Talk to me. No, you don't want to hear that, boy. You want to hear, you know, them perms and glistening.
Oh, say it again.
No, of course we didn't wear perms, right? But today they wear them,
That's right.
and you know, with them having their perms, they don't want to wet that head.
Or
They
that
don't even want it to rain out.
So what that tells you?
Or that
Huh? They don't want to wet that perm or that weave. Huh? What that tells you? That tells you that our people didn't wear perms. Because they didn't have that problem. They understood that. They understood when they went and they had to wash themselves, that they had to wash their heads also. From head to toe. You got to wash everything. You got flesh on the top of your head. That's the law. Read on.
Verse 19.
All right.
And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be in her impurity. She shall be in her impurity 7 days. And whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening.
You hear that? And if a woman have an issue, so this issue is what women get their monthlies, right?
Okay.
When they get their monthlies, they have to be separated for 7 days, right?
Separate.
Let's go.
And everything that she lieth upon in her impurity shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
All right. So
sit all over the house.
this is very important. This is very
Yes,
important.
sir.
What Prince just stated. When your Isha is unclean, now if you have a better separation for her, right? When your Isha is unclean, you should not be laying in the same bed with her that she's unclean in.
Exactly.
Because you're coming to Mr. Brothers. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Separating yourself from that which is unclean. And separating the holy from the common. And the holy from that which is not holy. That which is unclean. Now, when your Isha is unclean, like for example, I have this big recliner right in the middle of my room. My wife is not allowed to sit in there. You know why she's not allowed to sit in there? Not that there's anything special with the recliner. Not that the recliner is, it's separated, right? To me. You know why she's not allowed? Because when she gets unclean, she's going to unconsciously sit down in it. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This is my recliner. Right. This is my spot right here that I'm sure that's not going to be unclean. So this is mine right here. This is not, you have your better separation. I have my recliner. When you get unclean and you sleeping, I don't sleep in that bed. I got my own bed. You know? I know some of us might not have it like that, but you got to make some type of separation. You have to make some type of separation. You get your wife an inflatable bed, get something. Let's start to practice the Lord. That way we won't be in default.
That's right.
Because it's easy for us to say, well, that's not that serious. I'll wait till Shabbat, and on Shabbat I won't sleep in the same bed with her. No, practice the Lord.
That's right.
Practice it. That way you become good at it.
Yeah.
Become good at the Lord. Now, if you grow up with like I said prior, about washing from head to toe, right? Now, if you grew up saying, now you're listening to me, and you said, man, I don't know what U's talking about. He taking us to back in the days, and that's antiquated. The Lord never gets played out.
That's right.
So it's never antiquated. You got to wash from head to toe. God didn't give any, he didn't give any loopholes. There was no new interpretation to the law.
And
right.
don't diminish.
Yeah. There's no new interpretation to the law. You see, the trickery, how they tricked us is, you see in Christianity, when Christianity came, they called our book the Old Testament. They said we didn't have to do that. You see, when you associate something with old, that means it's played out, it's outdated. You don't have to do it anymore. And the New Testament, now it's supposed to be the new book, but the New Testament is old too.
They have no commandments in it either.
And all the commandments and all the laws that they get, that they try to do, where do they get them from? What they call the old antiquated book.
Right.
You know, our fathers never called our book the Old Testament.
Right.
That's right.
Never called it forgot the name that they called, there was a name that they called it. We get to knock from how they took each letter from Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. You know, so that's how we get the word Tanakh. You know, but there was another word that they used for the book. I read it somewhere, but I forgot the name. But when I get it, I'll bring it back to you. You know, but this is the recipe of life, and this is what all religions use to govern their states and their life. They get no other way of life had regulations like ours. No other way of life. You know, so now we get back to the uncleanness of the nashim, right? When you are unclean, you have to separate yourself for this period of time. You can't come in the midst of us. Stay away from the camp.
Not even after Shabbat.
Yeah, not even after Shabbat. Always after Shabbat I could come in. People bump up all against you. You know, people are all in the midst of you. You know, you got to be careful. You have to separate your children also. You know, when you bring your children to the holy gathering, right? Because children have a tendency of going into your bed. You know, and you're unclean. So you have to teach. It's your duty to teach the little ones. I'm unclean right now. Well, I'm unclean. You can't come into the bed, son. You can't come into the bed, daughter, because it's going to make you unclean and you can't come to services. Oh, Uz is off. He went off on the deep end. But am I telling a lie or am I telling the truth? Am I making anything up in the law?
No, sir.
Because if I'm making something up, just let me know and I'll stop.
You bringing understanding.
Let them little ones go in and then you bring them to Shabbat in the midst of people. Those little ones, crumb snatchers, they unclean. They unclean.
Teach.
We have to practice the law.
Right. Come on.
Practice it so that we could perfect it. We're not perfect. We're not at perfection with the law yet.
Right.
But if we practice it, we become good at it. If you never make an exception in your house to try to make a separation during that period of time where your wife is unclean, then when are you ever going to do it? Your children grow up watching you.
That's right.
And they're going to grow up doing the same things you do.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Sisters, it has a lot to do with men as it also has to do with you. You have to learn not to sit all over the place.
Oh, man.
You can't go on your son's bed and sit down and now you made the bed unclean.
Every seat.
And he lays on it now he becomes unclean.
Right.
You go, you sit, it's like musical chairs. You sit on every chair in the house.
Right. Can't find a clean spot.
It's a thing called like, you got to refrain. If you work to where you say, well, I'm going to have one folding chair. And I'm going to walk around the house with my folding chair. If I got to go in the kitchen, I'm going to sit down on my folding chair. It sounds crazy, but women.
Holy.
You might have
All
some
right,
that.
this is where we go a little bit wrong and we don't understand. You see, in those days, for most part, a woman had her own tent. Her own tent, right? So if her husband wanted to come see his wife, he would come to her tent or he would call her to his tent, right? But her tent was where her bed of separation was at.
A spot.
That was her spot.
Yeah.
Today, we don't have it like that to where we can have our own spot and our wives have their own, spot. But if you have, let's say, a room in the house, or if you have an extra room, learn to practice that separation.
That's right.
Learn to practice that. There's one thing that my father-in-law always taught me that he used to tell me. He said, man, he said, big man, don't get used to being underneath a woman, man, all the time. He said, don't. So what do you mean? You know, some of us don't know what it is to sleep outside of that separation with your wives.
Right.
You feel like you're missing something. You know? You gotta be able to stay abroad sometimes and know how it is to be missed. Your wife has to miss you sometimes too. You know? You might have to go on a mission, and then you're so used to being underneath your wife, you know, being in her bosom, that you don't even know how it is to be among brothers.
Right.
You know? I gotta bring my Isha. I'll get my own hotel room, don't worry. I'm gonna bring my Isha. And wives, don't get upset. This is just our tradition. Our fathers didn't sleep underneath their nashim all the time. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. Even back in the days in this country, a man would have his own separate bed.
That's right. In this country.
In this country, a man would have his own separate bed. If you don't believe me, research it. Never, it was never like that. We got to get back to these things. This is not these things that we picked up today is not customary of a people from the East. It's not. You got to be underneath your Isha all the time. You got to do this all the time. Come on, toughen up a little. Toughen up a little.
She got the all men's meeting outside.
Listen, she got the all men's meeting outside in the car. Waiting for you. Oh man. Let's go.
Verse 22. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sitteth upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
That uncleanliness is deep.
That's right.
Let's go.
And if he be on the bed or anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the evening.
That's what I'm talking about, the bed.
That's the bed chair.
Now, I'm not talking about the bedpost and the bed frame. You sit, whatever she laid on, she sat on, she makes it unclean. That means that you have to be careful. That your time of separation, baby.
Right.
Don't come hugging me. I don't need no kisses right now. I don't need none of that. I don't need to hug you. Oh, you don't show no, you're unclean. Let's go.
And if any man lie with her, and her impurity be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days. And every bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean.
You got the same uncleanliness she has. That's embarrassing.
That's right.
How do you explain that to the fellas?
Sleeping.
Yeah, and that's accidental.
Right.
Yeah, this is not on purpose, because the one on purpose,
Right.
you're cut off.
That's right.
That's accidental.
Brothers don't need her.
That's a tough one to tell a brother. He's like, I just can't come out, brother. You know, brothers, they figure out things after a while. They start putting 2 and 2 together. That's why when brothers be unclean, they'll just call and say, I'm not making it today. You know, they don't want to give any explanation. Let's go.
25. And if a woman have an issue of her blood, many days not in the time.
All right, this is important because a lot of our sisters, or sometimes, not a lot of our sisters, but some sisters, this happens. So go ahead. Irregular, let's go.
If a woman have an issue of her blood many days not in the time of her impurity, or if she have an issue beyond the time of her impurity, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness, she shall be as in the days of her impurity. She is unclean.
So let's say she goes over the 7 days. She's still menstruating. She's still going over that period of time, right? That's 7 days. So she bleeding. Let's say she's bleeding for 10 days straight. Read on.
8 days.
Every bed,
Or 8 days. Go ahead.
every bed whereon she lieth, all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her impurity, and everything whereon she sitteth shall be unclean, as the uncleanness of her impurity.
Only for that time.
And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
So now, for that time, that period of time that she's still releasing that blood, and that blood is still going out of her, she's unclean for that period of time. Go on.
But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean.
You hear that? Now the issue stops. Let's say it stops on the 9th day. Right? Stops on the 9th day. Now, after that issue stops, she has to start counting the 7 days. And after the 7th day, then she becomes clean. But let's say she spots anywhere between that last day when she stopped, that flow of that blood came about, and she spot 1 day in between them 7 days that she trying to come back, she got to start all over. She got to count from that 1 day again. That's day 1 again. A spot. A spot. That's an issue. One spot. She got to start counting all over again them 7 days.
It's not like the first one.
No, it's not like the first one. See, the first one is your normal period of time where monthly you get your monthly. Some women might bleed for 4, 5 days, 6 days. Might bleed all the way up to the 7th day. You know what I'm saying? And then you stop. That's your normal cycle. But if you go outside of your normal cycle, now you become irregular. Now this is a whole different ballgame. After that irregularity is done, then you have to start counting that 7th day. After that,
Done away with when they still bleeding.
like Prince just said, how can it be done away with when sisters are still seeing their monthly time? Every month.
This law ain't done away with.
This law is perfect. There's a reason why the Most High gave us these laws. No other book you're going to find laws like these. That's going to address things like this. That's going to address venereal diseases. It's going to address when a man goes into a woman. It's not going to address anything. It's not going to address you on the cleanliness of the law. That you have to be clean. And you have to present yourself clean before the Most High at all times. You see, this is the main thing. That the Most High wants us to be a clean, presentable people before Him. Can you imagine if we didn't have all these laws? How we would go before God? Everything is accepted. The church doesn't teach this. The church says that these laws are antiquated and they don't need to do it anymore. So they allow any and everybody to go into the church.
Every Sunday, never miss.
Because their thing is about making money, not teaching the laws of God. These are laws that if you're new, you probably never heard this law before.
Amen.
You probably never knew, wow, I didn't know that I had to do that. And now this is for the club hopper, right? The dude, the Israelite dude that like going from club to club and lift him and get him a nice little shorty, a nice little thing out there, as we say. Huh? Listen to this one. Now let's say you go clubbing, right?
We'll talk about it.
You go clubbing.
One night.
You're doing your high the pasa. Willie Bones. That's how you do it, right, man? He's the expert in that. He's the DJ. Yeah. But let's say you go there and you meet Joanne, right? You meet Joanne. Joanne is loose. You whisper sweet things in sweet nothings in Joanne's ear, and Joanne fall for your game. But she fell for Taekwon's game last week too. So you ain't nothing new to her. So Joanne is still in her period of separation, right? Joanne is on her 5th day, but on the 4th day, Joanne stopped bleeding. Joanne stopped bleeding. She ain't bleeding. She ain't showing. She ain't wearing nothing because she ain't bleeding no more. Right? So now Joanne come to you, and you being the righteous and honorable Israelite that you are, because you get in that compromising position where you take Joanne to a hotel, and then you go, well, Joanne, are you seen your, oh no, I'm finished. I stopped. and I'm good. And then you go lay down with Joanne. And the period of separation. Huh? You are neither also. You are unclean.
And you made a whole out of daughter.
It's a lot of things that go on top of that.
That's right.
That's a sin that God is not going to forgive because you're out there just wilding out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're profaning your seed, as we read about the priest. The priest, that he wasn't allowed, it wasn't permitted for him to profane his seed, to go out there and just lay with any and everybody that you want to.
Man, can't do that.
It's not permissible because you fall into snares like this.
Misleading the daughters.
You mislead a daughter because your brain power is so much more above hers that you talked her right into the hotel.
Just right.
You made a whore out of somebody's daughter. She was a whore already, but you added to it. Yeah, you're part of it. Your name is in there too. And there's something important that a sister sent to the camp, right? There was a brother on the internet, and I forgot who was the sister that sent it. Yes, it was Alicia. Sister Alicia, she sent it. So he's on the internet, right? And he got his face covered. He got a do-rag or something on his head. But he got his face covered. He said, yeah. He said, I'm doing this video. He put it on YouTube. He said, I'm doing this video just to tell you that I have AIDS, you know. He said, and I have a list of girls here that I pass this on to. So I'm gonna read these names so that if you see, when you see this, you know, and you know these girls, you could tell them to go get themselves checked out. He said the reason why he did it is because women are caught onto materialistic things. He said, I got a Jaguar, I got gold chain, I got bling bling. He said, and all I have to do is go in front of a club. He said, I don't even have to be in the club. He said, I didn't even have to party that day. He said, all I had to do with these girls is go in front of a club, profile. He said, and they came home with me. Why? Because of my car, because of my gold chain, because of this, because of that, because of what they seen, the material. He said, and I had unprotected sex with all these girls. And then he read off names. He read off about 25 names. And then he said, I've had sex with, he gave a crazy number of amount of girls he had sex with. And he said, all these girls that I did, he said, go get yourself checked out. He said, because I just passed you. He said, the reason why I did that, I mean, it wasn't justifiable why he did it. Right. But he's saying that, what he was basically trying to say is that you fall for anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're blinded by anything, and everything that glitters not gold.
Man.
It's on YouTube. And this guy got his face covered, and he gave out this list of name of girls. He said from ages 15 to, I forgot what's the oldest that he had, but he said 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old. He said he told the 15-year-old he was 18 and she went for it. They don't even want to know whether or not he's having protected sex with them.
They don't know better.
Our daughter's not supposed to be having any sex at all. They're supposed to be pure when they're presented to a man. Because guess what? When you go out there and you do what you want to do because somebody whispers sweet nothings in your ear and you fall for it, then that's what you deserve.
Yeah. Nothing. You're right.
That's what you deserve. God told us already what we were supposed to do. He told us how we should keep his laws.
Yeah.
There's no excuses for you. You get no excuses made for you. Parents, you shouldn't make excuses for them harlots.
That's right.
Kick them out your house.
That's right. Get out the house.
You make excuses for it. We make excuses. How can I be strong if you're not strong?
Right. Talk about it.
How can I be strong if you're not strong?
Ain't that right?
I'm looking for you to make me strong. And vice versa.
That's right.
Born sacred.
We all have to stand together.
Amen.
Yes, we do.
They're born sacred.
You can't send your daughter to the harlot party, man.
No.
Wow.
How you going? She's outnumbered.
Yeah, she sure
Talk
will.
about that.
You can't send your son to the harlot party. He's outnumbered.
Say what?
That's right.
It goes both ways when it comes to our children, you know.
Yes.
Because sometimes we have this double standard with our sons and our daughters. I understand that you might allow your son to do a little bit more than that daughter, but the integral things, like you might allow your son, like let's say you might not let your daughter be in the street at a travel from one point to another at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. You might let your son travel from one point to another from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Why? Because he's a boy. He might be able to handle himself. Still dangerous for him, but a daughter could get raped. Anything could happen to a daughter. You know, that's what I'm talking about. But no parties and stuff like that. Why are you serving up your children to the slaughter?
That's right.
Why are you serving them up to the slaughter?
They could come out unscathed.
At all times, daughters, sons, forget about the ways of the people.
That's right.
Forget about all that. You're going to see your friends, you're going to see people doing certain things, man. Forget about all that. Because you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything, man. Hold fast to what your parents have taught you.
Yeah.
Hold fast to that. Because that's what's going to help us in life.
Teach you.
That's right. Teach you.
Hold fast to those virtues and those values that you've learned. Hold fast to that. So parties come and go. I did thousands of parties. What do you get out of it? Whoop-de-doo. You can't remember half of the people that you've seen in there.
That's
anyway.
right. Came and go.
And you know what? And in a party, let me tell you the mentality about a party. When a dude goes out to a party, a dude is like a shark looking for his next prey. And today the sisters is like sharks looking for their next prey.
That's right.
So you got a whole bunch of sharks.
Circling.
You got a whole bunch of sharks in the sea.
That's right.
The Israelites, the goldfish.
And you the goldfish. You definitely gonna get eaten up.
That's right. Don't have a clue. That's right.
You got all types of fish. You got the sharks and piranhas, barracudas. You got all types of fish that don't play.
The big girl.
You got the whales. Huh? Said the whales need a little bit of love too, huh? Let's go.
Leviticus chapter 15, verse 29. And on the 8th day, she shall take unto her 2 turtle doves. Verse 29.
All right, go ahead.
And on the 8th day, she shall take unto her 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her before Yahweh for the issue of her uncleanness.
So after she got over her uncleanness, then this was the ordinance of the completion of this. Back in the days that we was in the law, she would come to the tent of meeting and she would present these things to the priest. But since we don't have that, we offer up a prayer to God. You should offer up a prayer to God for not being able to present this to him after you get out of that uncleanly state. You know, offer up a prayer to God because he listens to the sacrifice of our lips, as he said. Let's go.
31. Thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is in the midst of them.
You hear that? God don't want his tabernacle to be defiled. Why would we want the place that we call on his name to be defiled?
Right.
We have to safeguard that. That's why I understand certain brothers when they say, you know, certain brothers, you know, we never really push it like that. But certain brothers say, well, you know, I sat down on the train, or I did this, or I did that. You know, I'm not sure of it, you know. And you got to respect that because they trying to do it to a higher level. You got brothers that just stand up on the train all day and make it all the way here so that they won't fall into that, you know. But we have to come into the practice of that and start to apply these laws to our everyday lives. Not just when we come out to Shabbat and, you know, we become holier than thou. We have to be that. If you say you're going to be holier than thou, be that every day of the week.
Amen.
Be that every day of the week. Be who you are.
That's right.
Be what you are.
Practice, practice, practice.
Practice it. But don't flip-flop. Don't one day you give me a hug, the next day you don't want to give me a hug. The next day, you know, be consistent.
That's right.
I could respect consistency.
Amen.
That's right.
I could respect that. I could respect a person that consistent. Like, for example, if I call him come up these steps, he's not going to shake anyone's hand.
Nobody.
No, or no Shabbat, he's not going, or any holy day, he's not going to shake anybody's hand. I could respect that. That's how, every time, for as long as I know him, that's all he was. Now, he see you on a regular day of the week, he going to give you a hug. He going to shake your hand.
That's sundown.
At sundown, he going to give you, he'll give you a hug, he going to shake your hand. You know? But that's how he separates himself. So you can respect that. But he's consistent with that. He does that every time you see him. He's not going to do anything different. But if one day you tell me that you don't do that, and then the next day you give me a handshake or you give me a hug, and now you're not being consistent. So I don't know which you I'm talking to on this day. Am I speaking to the holy you, or am I speaking to the regular you?
Wow. Talk about it, bro.
I've been confused you.
I mean, serious. I mean, it's not no joke. It's if you consistent, I love you for that, because it might make me better. You might rub off on me. It might make me take those steps. But if you're not, then I can't really respect that. It's like the guys like on YouTube, right? We got the videos on YouTube, right, where we put up the drumming. And then the guys that come up there and criticize the drumming, and then you go, well, I always respond to them, well, if you put up a video response with you on it, and I see that you're good, I give you props. So, but if you're just talking from the sideline, then you're just talking. You don't know how to play. You're just hating. You know? That's what you're doing. You're just hating. Mom, I'm holier than thou. You just hating, man. Because you're faking the fun, because you won't give me a hug and a handshake, but you see Johnny that you went to junior high school with and you give him a pound. So you're only playing that role around me. And I'm your brother. And I have a better chance of being clean than Johnny is. Johnny just laid with the harlot, so he got that uncleanness on him. Johnny just went to Tyquan's funeral last week and touched him. He got that uncleanness on him. Johnny was just had a mission by night. He's unclean by that. Johnny just finished eating some pork chops. He's unclean by that. Johnny got all these things on him, but you hug him and you give him a pound.
Right, Johnny.
That's his man.
That's your man.
Go to clubs and drink out of glasses.
Wow.
Let's go. Finish it out.
Verse 32. This is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him that from whom the flow seed goeth out, so that he is unclean thereby, and of her that is sick with her impurity, and of them that have an issue, whether it be a man or a woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
So it covered everything that has to do with an issue, and what we have to do, and how we have to carry ourselves. Watch those little ones. You have to teach them from now. Don't be around here. I tell my, I'm trying to train my son right now. Don't be underneath your Amos. Now you of age, Amos, you of age. If you see Amos will always wait for his hour. Right. If I'm the last one, even everybody be out, he will say, come on, let's go. He said, no, I'm waiting for hour. Teach them to be soldiers from now. I'm waiting for hour. Wait, I'm waiting for hour.
That's right.
Teach them to be soldiers so that when they grow up being men.
Thank God.
They grow up being men. They don't, every son has a little mama's boy in them. Every son loves their mother. Every son, that's natural. That's a natural love that a boy has for his mother. You can't change that. You can't break that bond. But I'm saying there's a part of you that has to be a soldier. You got to wean them away from their mothers, and they have to become soldiers. And sons learn to be soldiers. When your father trying to teach you certain things, take that in.
That's right. Eat the word.
Take it in.
Sons, listen, man.
Be a son and do all the things that you're supposed to do, so that God could bless you. Amen. That's why I don't understand the people that change from the traditions and the ways that their fathers have taught them. They change from one thing that they say is not sure to something that's not sure. You changed up everything that your fathers ever taught you and to something totally different that's not sure.
That's right.
So we have to watch ourselves, and we have to watch the things that we do and the actions that we take, because they affect all of us.
That's right.
They affect each and every one of us. We have to be careful. Uncleanliness is easily passed. It's easily passed from one person to another. And it affects us all. It affects wives, it affects husbands, it affects children, everybody, community, the whole entire community. So respect the place that we call in the name of the Most High God. And respect the things that we set aside to God. Respect them.
Man.
No? All right, and for the sacrifices, don't let it throw you off, because we understand that we're not in the lands of our fathers, and we can't present any offering of sacrifices here. So I'm going to read this from the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 2. Return, Israel, unto Jehovah your God, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. Take words with you and return to Jehovah. Say to him, may you forgive all iniquity and accept good intentions, and let our lips substitute for bows. That's what we got to pray before the Most High God. So let our lips and the supplication of our lips be acceptable before thee, O Yah, because we can't present any offerings before you or any sacrifices before you here in the lands of our captivity. So we thank the Most High God that he would even consider us in these lands, and that he will protect us in these lands. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.